So since you are here and we have a few, what I'm going to do is start with the screen that I'm sharing. It's obviously greetings and farewells. This is like basic Spanish that all of you should know. And what I want you to do very quickly is just have a look at these words on the screen. All right. Hola, bienvenidos. You heard me say that as you came into the room. I greeted you and then I said bienvenidos once you came in. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, ¿cómo estás? And these are all things that you should know because you will have at some point to either write a dialogue or read a dialogue and answer questions about it, okay? Now, what I will have you do at the end of this session is put you in breakout rooms where you will, along with persons who are in that breakout room with you, you will create a dialogue. Okay, so I'm asking you now, take your time, look at the screen, look at the words, and if there's anything that you don't know, kind of write it down, right? So that you will be able to recognize it later. But you will have to be able to write a dialogue, create a dialogue, or if you read a dialogue or hear a dialogue, because you may actually hear a dialogue for a listening activity, and you will be able to make an informed decision in terms of when you're answering questions about that dialogue, or if you have to speak to or speak about what's going on in the dialogue, or write about what's going on in the dialogue, because y'all don't do speaking. So yes, hello, welcome, good morning. These are your basic things that you say when you meet someone, whether it's for the first time or if you're just seeing that person again. Normally you greet them with these simple greetings, right? You say how you're feeling, you express whether you will see them tomorrow, yada, yada. Okay? Now, if you look at the other side that speaks about a yesterday, today, tomorrow, again, this will come in the aspect whenever you're talking about, if you are writing about anything, you will have to say and use words in terms of time, whether that's the actual time or whether there's time words like yesterday, today, tomorrow. You should know Mr., Mrs., Miss, you should know those things. ID card, your name, your surname or last name, that's apellido. ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? My name is, what is your last name? So again, see that word there, ¿cuál es tu apellido? Why is this important? Because there was on a past paper, you actually had to fill out a form as a part of a writing assignment. So in addition to an actual writing piece, there are times when you will be given like an exercise to do. That's not necessarily a part of the writing, like an essay or a letter or something like that. You will actually have an exercise to do that is simply filling out a form. Okay, so the exercises can come in different ways, but it's still writing. So just be prepared for things like that. So if you have to fill out a form and they ask you, ¿cuál es tu apellido? You know what that means, right? So you can write your last name down and get marks for that. Okay, so just be mindful of things like that. Okay, mucho gusto. It's nice to meet you. El gusto es mío, or igualmente, which simply is a good response to whenever somebody says it's nice to meet you. All right, everybody clear on that?
Yes,
All right, good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. Well, I'm going to let Zoom put you in breakout rooms. And once you go in those breakout rooms, what you are going to do is, as you go in the breakout rooms, you are going to, how many persons do I have in here so far? 14. So I will do, someone's coming in, not including me. So that's going to be 12. So I'm going to do 3 breakout rooms, so 4 breakout rooms. And I'm going to let Zoom put y'all in. So that means you're going to kind of like create a dialogue between 3 people. All right. And I'm going to give you like 15 minutes to do that, 10 to 15 minutes. That's more than enough time. So for those persons who have just come in the room, I am using the screen that's on the information on the screen so that you can grab information from it as you need it, because you're going to go in a breakout room right now and you are going to create a dialogue. It may be with persons you know just as well as it may be with persons you do not know, which is good if you do not know them, because again, it makes it more meaningful, I suppose, because these are legitimate questions that you would be asking anyway. But you are going to create a dialogue with those persons that you go into the room with. And then once you come back to the main room with me, you are going to share. All right. And so I'm going to set that up right now. And I want how many persons? Ooh, I have 15, 14, 3, 4 is that 12. So one room is going to have, I'm going to do 4 breakout rooms. So once you see the number, please go into that room. So this is what I found interesting. Remember, if you are doing a dialogue is simply a conversation. So if you are in the breakout room with 2, 3, well, it's more than 2. If you're in the breakout room with 4 people, right? Someone needs to start the conversation, right? Hello, my name is, what is your name? So that could have automatically been one of the first lines in your dialogue. Whoever started it, that person's name would go next to that sentence. This is a dialogue, right? So let's say DeVario started a conversation asking the names of the 4 people in his group or the 3 other people in his group. He can start, hola, me llamo DeVario Clark. ¿Cómo se llaman? What are your names? ¿Cómo se llaman? What are your names? And then everybody goes around saying their names, right? Me llamo Ebony Cobra. Me llamo JL Francois. Me llamo Jaden Gomez. Good. That's already 4 lines of conversation, 4 lines in the dialogue. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Do y'all get it?
Yes,
all right. So now once you finish that, you start a next sentence in the dialogue. Well, how's everybody doing? Okay? Or ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están? How are you? How are you all? Whoever asks the question. And again, somebody just goes around. Somebody could say regular. Another person could say así o más o menos. Somebody can say vale, adios. Not adios, sorry, vale. You know, you're just saying how you feel. Estoy bien. That's all you're doing. That's all a dialogue is. It's simply a conversation. And so when you see it, you need to recognize it because it will have a name of somebody and it will have the information that they're saying, whatever it is they're saying. All right. So that's all it is. So hopefully, I'm not going to do that again. Hopefully when we come again, or hopefully when I show you a dialogue again, you will be able to duplicate one, right? You will be able to construct one on your own because it's something you're going to need to be able to do, all right? Or at least be able to speak to in terms of answering and asking questions about it, all right? So let's move on. All right, so let's look at this again. You can look from the picture and you can tell what time of day this is representing. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. You can raise your hand, please, and let me know who wants to answer 1, 2, or 3. Asia, I see your hand up. Go ahead, take one. Which one you want?
Number 1.
Go ahead. What do you think that
Number
is?
Buenos noches.
Okay. Who wants to take number 2? Keon, I see your hand.
Buenos dias.
Okay, that would be number 2. And of course, number 3, Mr. Cowell Ram.
Buenos tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, sorry.
Yep. All right. So buenas noches, buenos dias, buenas tardes. And of course, it has to do with time of day. And I want to go into that with you. There are different time periods in Spanish. And of course, anything from when you wake up in the morning to midday is buenos dias. So anything from when you wake up in the morning, right, to midday would be buenos dias. When you're talking about buenas tardes, you're using that until the sun sets. Normally, that's what you would look at. So even though it's 5:35 now by my watch, we would still say buenas tardes. So until the sun goes down, and which will normally be around after 6 o'clock, around 7, when the sun sets, you can still say buenas tardes. Once you see the sun sets, after that, it would be buenas noches. Okay, which would mean good evening or good night, depending on it, right? So it doesn't only mean when you go to bed, you say buenas noches. Anything after the sun sets would be good evening or good night. And if it's early morning hours, notice that early morning hours. So that's when it's like, let's say it may be after midnight in the night, but it's still very, very, very early in the morning, right? You can use either buenos dias or buenas noches. So just pay attention to that. But that's early morning hours. Okay? All right. Remember, buenos is used with dias because dia is day, and it's a masculine word. Buenas is used with tardes, and it's used with noches because both of those words are feminine. So you have la tarde and la noche. So you say buenas tardes and buenas noches. But dia is el dia. So it's masculine. So we say buenos dias. Okay? And look what you have on here. You can use hola any time of the day and you will not be incorrect. So if you are, for example, if you do have to write a dialogue, you can use your hola throughout your dialogue. All right, that's what you could do. Doesn't matter. All right, so let's look at these times and tell me based on the information that I just gave you. Very simple information, very quickly. Let's do this. Given the times, what would we put for these times? If you have an annotation tool, you can put it on. You can write on the screen if you have an annotation tool. If you can annotate or write on my screen, you can type it in. Philia Brennan, and why I say you can type it on, because you will have to practice writing these words. You remember you do have a writing component. Philia, go ahead. Which one do you want to answer? Miss Brennan? Jaden, I see you on the screen. That's fine. Jaden, you on the screen. That's fine. You can write on the screen. Miss Brennan, go ahead. What are you saying? Go ahead if you want to give an answer, Miss Brennan, or you can type the answer. Okay, Jaden, I see your answer. Buenos dias for 7 a.m. That is correct. 11 a.m. Buenos dias. 12:30 p.m. 10 p.m. and 5:15 p.m. What would you write? Okay, I'm waiting for the 10 and the 12:30. Go ahead, Keon. You can put it on the screen if you can write.
I don't know how to put it on the screen.
You should have a pen. You should have a pen or annotation tool in your Zoom toolbar. And once you click on that, you will be able to write. So if you are looking, especially if you're working from your a laptop or something, in your Zoom toolbar, you will see an annotate tool, which once you click on it, will give you the option to type. And that's how you annotate over my screen, because I have that annotation tool enabled so you can write on the screen. All right, so we have 11 a.m. Buenos dias, which is correct. Buenas tardes, yes, after 12 o'clock, it's buenas tardes. 10 p.m., buenas noches. 7 a.m., buenos dias. And 5:15 p.m., we will, yes, go with buenas tardes, okay? Yeah. As long as the sun hasn't set yet, we're good. So I'm going to clear that and move to my next screen.
Excuse me, Miss Miller.
Hey.
Which paper is the hardest?
Well, it depends on you. I would say the writing would be hardest. It could be reading or writing. Depends on you. If you know vocabulary, you are not going to have a problem. All right. And if you know basic grammar rules, you should be fine. Okay. Now, what could happen to if you're not doing a lot of listening, in terms of you're not listening to a lot of, whether it's songs or whether it's just conversation, simple conversation, and they have a lot on YouTube. You can open up a YouTube a video with someone doing a listening activity, and just begin to tune your ear. And you can do that. I know you may say, oh, we don't have enough time. You have more than enough time. Like I was sharing with some of the other children, your exam for listening is actually on the 3rd of June. You can listen and tune your ear. If you have not been listening or not been doing it before, you can start listening and tuning your ear to hear the vocabulary, right? And I don't think those persons that are invigilating are going to be riddling it off very quickly. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think you're going to have someone who is going to be reading at an adequate speed. You do not have to, they're not going to try to deliberately cause you to fail, right? So all you need to do is, if you know your vocabulary, you will be good. My thing to you would be get your vocabulary down. All right. You need to have vocabulary, because that's how you're going to read and that's how you're going to write. So let's talk about vocabulary. Look at these words right here. You've had them on the screen already. That's the first thing that I showed, even as you opened up the room. As you came into the room, these words were on the board. But these are basic things that you would have gotten from 7th grade. Because the first thing we teach in 7th grade is greetings and farewells. Like, this is the first thing. So looking at this, do you remember any of these vocabulary? And again, you can write it on the screen, because I want you to get into the habit of writing. And you're going to have to give responses in Spanish and in English. So be aware of that, please. As you do your exam, your examination questions will ask you to either give your responses in Spanish sometimes or in English. Okay, I see some answers coming in. Nobody knows number 3? Are you asking me? I see a question mark after that.
A woman that speaks Spanish?
What? Senora? Senora is a title.
Mrs. MS.
It's Mrs. It's for a married person. So even if you look at my name on my screen, on my thing, it's Senora. So Senora refers to a married lady. All right. Senorita refers to someone that's not married. And then, of course, senor is for a gentleman. All right. So, yeah. So, those titles you need to know. Okay. So, senorita is for somebody who's not married. So, you would write that MISS, or you would just write MS. And then for someone who is married, it would be MRS for mistress. Okay? And then Mr. MR. All right, everybody clear on that one? Cool. And the rest you have rights. Hasta luego. See you later. Tarjeta de identidad is your identification or ID card. And hola is hi or hello. Hasta mañana is see you tomorrow. Okay? What about these ones? Yes, surname, last name, both will do. All right, number 10. Somebody needs to grab number 10. Hoy es miércoles. Hoy es miércoles.
What?
Hoy
Today?
es miércoles. Exacto. Exacto. Hoy es miércoles. Okay, now something like that, if you hear that in a listening comprehension, or if you hear, for example, los estudios estudian en el colegio, when do I want to say? El viernes. Or hoy estudian, I don't know, matemáticas. You need to know what I just said. Does anybody know what I just said? And I was very slow. I mean, very slow.
Today's subject is mathematics. Wait, I don't even
Can
know.
you repeat it, please?
I did it out my head, so I hope I can repeat it. I said, los estudiantes, right? Los estudiantes o los alumnos estudian en el colegio o en la escuela el viernes.
The students study in school on Fridays.
Thank you. Hoy estudian matemáticas.
They're studying math.
Give me the full sentence. Hoy estudian matemáticas.
Today they're studying math.
Thank you. Yeah, you all need to know that. That's very simple, a very simple sentence. So you might hear, for example, when they give you a listening, it will actually be a conversation. It could be a conversation taking place in a restaurant between a waiter and somebody who's come to the restaurant to order. So that means vocabulary related to what? You would need to know vocabulary related to what? What would you need to know vocabulary related to if you are, oh my bad, if you are in a restaurant and
Food.
Food.
you know vocabulary related to food?
Food and drinks.
The menu?
Exacto. Yes, you have to know that's if they show you menu, but if you are if it's listening comprehension, because they put some in a reading comprehension too. But if it's listening, then you will simply hear them talking about let's say Juan y Maria van a restaurante de, I don't know, whatever restaurant. And it may be like they may talk about the occasion. It might be an anniversary, and then again, listen for keywords. Aniversario, cumpleaños. It might, what did I just say after anniversary?
Birthday.
Thank
Birthday?
you. So, right. So they may have gone there for a birthday. It could have been an anniversary. It could have been some kind of celebration, whatever it is, like, or it could have been a fiesta. Listen for words like that, because again, you need to know the occasion. So here it is. They're at this restaurant and it's Juan. I mentioned Maria. So you know, okay, Juan and Maria at the restaurant. Then you hear a word like camarero. What is that?
Waiter.
Waiter. So the waiter would probably come and take their order from a menu, and so he tells them, or they might say, "Oh, quiero el pescado frito con arroz." What did I just say?
You said fish and rice. You eating fish and
Right.
rice?
Yes, I said quiero, which means I want. All right. I could say quiero, like I said, I want fish and rice. And then Maria might say, or Juan might say something. You just have to know the words. So you have to know the word querer, for example. That's the verb querer. Quiero. So you need to know the different translations, the different conjugations for that. You might hear gustar, me gusta, meaning I like. Okay? Or you may hear them ask, do you have? Tienes? Do you have? Right? Or you may hear tomo, which means, for example, if I say tomo, I don't know, tomo el vaso de vino. And we had this word last week. Tomo el vaso de vino blanca. What did I just say? Tomo el vaso de vino blanco. Tomo means I'm taking, I'll take. So I'll take or I'll have, right? You normally use tomo. When you're talking about food, you don't say, even though tener means to have, you don't say tener, whatever. You normally would say tomo, and you say whatever drink you're having or whatever food you're eating. Okay? But just remember, it's stuff like that you're gonna hear when you do you might hear as you do your listening activity. So it could be about a doctor's office, or in an office, in a doctor's office at the hospital. So you would need to know words related to the hospital, or being sick or being in pain. So you would need to know words like where you have pain, tengo dolor en mi cabeza, or tengo dolor en el estómago. Like you would need to know parts of the body, right? So just be aware of stuff like that. And if you know the vocabulary, you can kind of guess the situation that's being discussed. All right. So just be mindful of stuff like that. Okay. So this is a dialogue. All right. Now it doesn't have like the person's name and then the line next to it, and then the person's name, and then somebody else saying the next line. But this is a dialogue. So notice what I want you to put in the dialogue. What I have in brackets is what I want you to write in Spanish. Okay, so there you're using that hasta mañana, see you tomorrow, adios, goodbye, yes. What is your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? Right? Good. Notice notice the way they act. Again, notice how this dialogue flows. Hello, my name is Eduardo, and you? What is your name? Oh, my name is Maria. Good morning. See you tomorrow. Adios. And that's the end of it. You don't need a long dialogue, right? It just shows that you know what conversation should flow as you talk in a dialogue. All right. And then look at these other words that you see in the brackets over here, in this box. Make sure you know these other words as well. So they were not used in the dialogue, but ciao means to say, it's just like adios. It's just a formal way of saying bye, right? And then you have good night. You have good afternoon. Okay, so just remember that. Okay. And this is what we try to do inside the breakout room, but we're not going to do that. So this is an actual exercise from paper 3, a writing paper in June 2019. All right, this came from an actual writing paper. Notice how many words you are going to have to write for your little writing exercise. And you have several of these on a paper. All right, and then you have one that's 80 words. Okay, I'm going to show you examples of all of them. All right, so you have this one. It says, while in Cuba, you decide to write a friend in Uruguay. Write an email of approximately 30 to 35 words in Spanish and include the following. That means as you write your email, make sure that these things are a part of your email, right? Now, I just want to give you some clues. I want to give you some clues in terms of whenever you have to write an essay or any little write-up about any country, as you write, always try to include information specific about the country. Like, for example, if you're writing about Cuba, try to mention some landmark or something that's in Cuba. Try to remember some statue of somebody that you know is famous that's in Cuba. So to just include it in your writing. All right. Try to mention just some specific places. So if you talk about landmarks, if you talk about maybe a museum or something that's in that place. So if you talk about the traditional foods from that place, if you talk about a cultural event that takes place in that place, and then it just may be some common expressions that may be used in that particular country. So if you know stuff like that, it makes you look like you know what you're saying. Oh, this person is a writer. Oh, that's impressive. Okay, it gets the attention of the markers when you do stuff like that. Okay, everybody understand what I'm saying? Yes,
ma'am.
All right. Okay, don't let me do too much talking. If you have questions, ask. So now you're in Cuba and I want you to help me with this. So you are in Cuba, right? With your grandmother. Let me hear some of the words that you know you're going to be using, and I want to hear them in Spanish. And please don't Google it or do it yet. Let's do that at the end. Let's see what we know already. So let's talk about some words that you know should come up as you talk about this. So you know, if I'm a marker, I'm looking for some words, because now I'm telling you, I want you to specifically tell me that you are in Cuba with your grandmother. I want you to tell me that you are at the hotel. I want you to tell me what the food is like. All right. Mr. Maki, your hand is up along with some other people. I see your hand up first, so Mr. Maki, so go ahead, and then Mr. Kawaram, you can go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Maki.
I'm
Oh,
a
sorry,
girl.
Miss Maki. Miss Maki. I just saw Adrienne, not Adrian. My apologies. Go ahead, Miss Maki.
Could use a word like comida.
You will definitely have to use comida, right? Comida is food. We know that. What else can you use, Mr. Cowellram?
You would use a word like what's it? Delicioso for describing the food.
Exacto. What's another word that you can use to describe the food besides delicioso?
I say calor or like saying
I
saying
say,
it's hot.
I understand what you mean.
That's I don't know
I
how
say
to do calor.
calor normally deals with the weather.
Yeah, so I know that it's just like I didn't
I
know how to say
know.
it for food.
Calor. Es muy calor. It's like you can use calor in terms of something like that. Or it's mucho. Muy calor. Mucho calor, muy calor.
Thank you.
Ryan.
You could use
Go ahead.
fui for when you saying what you did with your friend yesterday.
Oh, very good. So please tell them what that is. What is that verb? Tell them.
Fui,
Yeah, fue. What is that?
went,
That's the past tense of it's went. So it's the past tense of which verb? You have to know. That's the past tense of the verb to go. Right?
yes
It's
ma'am.
the past tense of the verb to go. So that's the past tense of the verb er. All right. It's an irregular verb. And so even you could use we went, right? But you could also just say what you did yesterday. So for example, when you do or when you have activities, like you have activities and pastimes that you should have done in Spanish. So when you talk about pastimes and activities that you did, whether it was going swimming, whether it was going shopping, whether it was going to eat at a restaurant, whether it's like things like that, playing football or watching TV or watching video games, whatever it is, those are pastimes and things that you and your friend could have done yesterday. So you could have gone somewhere, but you could have also done something, right? Do you understand what I mean?
Yes,
All right. So all of those things. All right. So what else can you mention? So we know I don't hear the word for friend. Nobody said the word for friend yet. Nobody said the word for yesterday. Those things should be mentioned. What's the word for friend?
Amigo,
Amiga, amigo. What's the word for yesterday?
ayer.
Ayer. So I should hear that mi amigo y yo, meaning my friend and I should see that. Mi amigo y yo. Or you can say nosotros, which simply means we. So you could say we went. So you like switch it up. Don't keep saying mi amigo y yo. We use your pronouns. Nosotros fuimos. Again, if you know your tense, we went. You could say you went somewhere yesterday. We went to El Centro Comercial. We went to the mall, right? Ayer. And you could even talk about again now because you have to stretch the words. You could say what day you went on because you're not just writing this and calling it quits. You have to write 30 to 35 words. All right. So that means you could add other things like the time, add like the day. All of this makes your essay, your writing longer. Okay. Anybody else wants to add something? What other words should you mention in a thing like this, in a writing prompt like this? Let me hear the Spanish words. I see your hands up. So between Miss Dorset, I haven't heard from you. Go ahead.
Okay, so to describe your amiga or amigo, you could say that they're bonita, or you could say alto or alta.
Yes, you could describe your friend. Okay. So you could describe your Cuban friend. And of course, you should mention a name. You should mention a name. So you should know Spanish names. So you should be able to give a Spanish name for your Cuban friend. Okay? So again, it makes you look good. All right? And of course, you do descriptive words. Like she said, are they tall? Are they short? Right? Describe the color of their hair, the color of their eyes. So again, if you know parts of the body, you can mention things about your friend. And this is a piece of cake to write. It's a piece of cake to write this once you know the vocabulary. And if you talk about food that you like, oh my goodness, right away, you know, as a writer, I'm looking to see me gusta, which means I like, right? So you can talk about me gusta mucho, whatever. I like this a lot. Me gusta mucho. Do you know Spanish dishes? What Spanish dishes do you know? There's one that comes to the top of my head that begins with P.
Polo?
Pescado?
Say it again. Somebody said it. I think I heard it.
Pescado?
Pescado is fish, but there's an actual dish called paella. Have y'all ever heard about the paella?
Mm.
No.
Okay. See, paella is a dish. So again, if you find out like meals that are unique to a particular country, that will be good. But also if you just know in general Spanish meals, because a lot of people fix paella and they fix it differently depending on where they are. But paella is a very common Spanish dish. You should talk about tacos. Hello. That tacos is almost like American, right? So you can talk about tacos. All right. Anybody who's been to Taco Bell, you can talk about tacos. So you got to mention tacos. So again, that's something that you should be talking about as you talk about and describe the food. You say what it's like. So say if it's pepper, say if it's say if it's sweet, say if it's salty, say, you know, talk about the food. Talk about what the food is like. Okay, and again, if you mention the particular food, so if you talk about different foods, whether it's rice, frijoles, you can't talk about Spanish food and not mention beans, because beans is always in their thing, and frijoles is common. Okay, beans, rice, those are the common ones. Okay, Mr. Kawal Ram and Miss Maki, you have some more to add. What else should you be mentioning?
For grandmother, you could say me Abdullah.
Definitely, you have to talk about grandmother. That word should be in your writing piece. Definitely, you have to mention abuela. So, and I don't see nobody mention hotel. You have to mention hotel. Okay, Mr. Carl Ram, what else?
Like you said, for the hotel, instead of just saying me gusta, you could say me encanta, saying that you loved it, or like
Yes.
and then say how you could describe it.
Right. So I want to hear the words though. I want you to tell me in Espanol. I want to hear the words coming from you. What are some words that you go ahead?
Okay, so for the hotel, I would say es muy grande y divertido. I think you would say.
Divertido is fun. Would you say that the hotel is fun, or what would you say is fun? Maybe
Like the activities at the hotel?
Right. So
That's right.
you would say you could say they have a lot of fun activities. Okay, so you know the word for lot, which is mucho. Actividades is activities. Fun, divertidos. And again, you have to make them they have to, what's the word I want? Agree. They have to agree in number and gender. So if you're saying, you have to talk about, if you're talking about more than one activity, los actividades, right? Or hay muchos actividades, and then you want to say the funny, you talk divertidas.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Oh, you see what I'm saying? Right. Okay, Miss McKinsey. What else would you want to mention in something like this?
Okay, so for the hotel, you can say el hotel es grande or
Mm-hmm.
el hotel es verde to
It's
describe the color.
okay. You could talk about the color of the hotel as well. What about the people who work in the hotel? You could actually say that they are what, friendly, right? Can you talk about that? So you can even talk about the people. So you can even talk about if the bed was comfortable, right? So those are things that you could mention. Or if the room was nice, or if there was like if it had a big television in the room. Like, you don't have to be stuck with whatever vocabulary you remember, my dear. That's all I need you to put on that paper. If try to use the vocabulary that you know and make it work with whatever it is that you have been given. Go ahead, Miss McKinsey. I see your hand is up.
Oh, it was still up from before.
Okay. All right. Jaden.
You could say like for when they said that they're in Cuba, you could probably say they're in Havana.
Muy bien. You could talk about the capital, right? You have Old Havana, you have New Havana, you have you could always talk. Listen, even if you don't remember, okay, and I need you to remember this from me. Even if you don't know about a Spanish-speaking country and like exactly what their monuments are, what some of the places are, like if you don't know the exact landmarks and stuff, always talk about the buildings. Use the word buildings. That's what I'm saying. Say the buildings were old when I went, like mention something. So like you getting points. Don't worry about that. So if you don't remember specifically a landmark, just start talking about the buildings, talk about the churches, talk about where you saw a police station, even if you didn't see a police station, like talk about buildings that you know. Everybody understand what I mean when I say that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So even if you don't know Havana, Little Havana,
Sí, señorita.
okay. Even if you don't know that, talk about buildings, edificios, all right? Or say that they were old, viejo. Talk about the La Estación de Policía. Talk about El Centro Comercial, going downtown, seeing the mall, whatever it is, if they have one. Okay? Talk about the markets, okay? Because normally you have places that have markets where the people are selling their goods. So talk about the market and what was being sold at the market or in the marketplaces. All right, let's look at another one. So this is another one, and this one is not it's from a writing exercise, but it's not notice that it's not a paragraph that you have to write, but it's still a writing exercise that you have to do. So you will encounter some of these as well in your exam. So it says you're planning a family outing for next weekend. Make a list in Spanish of 5 family members you intend to invite: brother, aunt, grandfather, etc. Do not use names. So you're not writing the names of people. You're actually writing the the relation, meaning the family members' relation in the family. So is it mom, dad, granddad, niece, nephew, uncle, cousin? Those are the kinds of things that you're writing. So obviously with an exercise like this, they are trying to find out if you know the names of family members in Spanish. So you need to know, of course, that this is something that you may have to do. Okay? Good. I see somebody put cousin. What are some other family members that you have? Abuela, hermano, ¿qué más? What else? There's some other ones. Anything else? What is grandson and granddaughter? Anybody knows those words? Grandson or granddaughter, what are those words? Yes. Good stuff. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this is another writing exercise. Notice how it changes up. So here it is. Your Venezuelan friend is going to visit you next week, meaning now they're coming to you. They're coming here to the Bahamas. So you're going to write a list of 5 activities that you will do together. You must write the list in Spanish. So for example, and they gave you the example, Domingo, ir a la iglesia. And notice how they want you to write that. So Domingo, on Sunday, go to church. What are you going to do on Monday? Somebody tell me something that you and your friend can do on Monday. Okay, I see somebody put ir a la playa. Okay, good. Go to the beach. Good. Give me something that you're going to do on Tuesday. Someone is going to the movies on Friday. Muy bien. ¿Qué más? What else? On Thursday, sorry. What are you going to do? What else? Ir al museo. Muy bien. We're going to the museum on Friday. What is the museum that we have in New Providence? I'm just asking for ir al museo is fine. But let's say I wanted to tell them that we're going to the Pirate Museum. What would I say? Just saying if you would know how to write it. That's all. It's simply to see if you would know how to write Pirate Museum. Okay. All right. You have an idea. Someone say watch television. Okay. And you have an idea. Good. So bottom line is you need to know about activities and pastimes. So again, this is where that vocabulary would come in. You need to know about pastimes and activities, hobbies, things like that you can do. Nobody went out to eat. Nobody went to a restaurant. Ir al restaurante, ir al fish fry, ir al whatever you may have on your island where people go to hang out. You could do that too. All right. Let me clear. And let's move on to the next one. So here's another one. You're going to visit a Panamanian friend. Write an email of about 30 to 35 words to your Dominican cousin. Notice and they're specifically telling you who you're writing to and what you're writing about. Telling him about your travel plans. So your Venice. Okay, that should be you are going to visit a Panamanian friend. That your Venezuela should not be there. You are going to visit a Panamanian friend. Write an email about 30 to 35 words to your Dominican cousin. Okay, so you're writing a letter to a cousin in Dominica or in the Dominican Republic, could be that too, in Dominica, and you are going to write about some things. So tell me some of the words that I should automatically see coming out in your email. Mr. Cowell.
Okay, so for when you are going to Panama, I would probably say en 2 semanas, like in 2 weeks.
En 2 semanas. When you say 2 mil is 2,000.
Oh, right. I forgot.
So if you want to be specific about a date, you could talk about traveling in the summer. So you could talk about traveling in the summer. You could talk about saying in which month, if you want to be specific like that. If you want to give a date, you can be specific like that as well. So if you know how to write the date, again, this is the time to show off writing the date. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can somebody tell me how they would write a date in Spanish, for example? How would you write a date to say that you're going to someplace on a particular date? So how would you say you're going to Panama? Let me hear somebody say that. Do you know how to write the date? Let me ask that question. Do you know how to write the date? This is the time. You don't have to listen to me. Ain't no shame here. If you don't know, the whole purpose of having this reinforcement class is for us to go over stuff. So if you don't know, this is the perfect time to find out. All right, so no shame in not knowing. Okay, who knows?
Me, I think.
Okay, so if you know, do me a favor. Right next to when you are going to Panama, put a date for me.
Oh, this laptop don't allow me to write it.
You can't annotate? Okay, tell me.
Okay, so my Spanish teacher, when he writing the date, he is put the number first. Then he is say day, then the month, then day, and then he is put the year.
So if I'm saying I'm going to Panama, right? How do I say I'm going to Panama? How do I say I am going? Let's get that phrase written.
Voy a.
So voy a Panama, and you say en, right? Or el, sorry. Voy a Panama, el, let's say, or el 25. I want you to tell me what I'm saying now. Voy a Panama el 25 de junio. What did I say?
The 25th of July.
I'm going to Panama.
Junio. This is junio. June. All right. Or I could say voy a Panama el 30 de agosto. Or la 30. Voy a Panama la 30 de agosto. What am I saying?
I'm going to Panama
When am I going to Panama? La 30 de agosto.
the
30th.
30th of August.
Right. Or you could say August 30th, right? Because that's the way we talk. All right. Cuando? No, let me say it this way. Well, let you say it. Who would be going with you? So I want you to tell me. And again, this is where your family members can come in. This second line is the perfect line for you to put family members that might be if you know family members and you know the vocabulary for family members, say that your family what family members may be going with you. Again, you trying to use up words. So if you want to use up words, list as many of family members as you know. Those are going to count as your 30 to 35 words. So put all of the family members that will be traveling with you. And of course, you have to use the word. You're either going to use the verb travel. You're either going to use the verb go. So that means you either need to know ir to go, or you need viajar to travel, and you need to know how to conjugate those verbs, right? So I would please make a note of these things, because again, these are verbs that are important for you to know, are going to be important for you to know. So again, you will talk about who's traveling with you, and you can mention family members. Or you can mention friends, mis amigos, my friends, and you list their names. Again, this is the way, just think about ways that you can expand your paragraph so that you make the 30 to 35 words that you have to write. Don't get stuck. That's what I don't want to happen. I don't want you to get stuck. Just think about, I need you to think outside of the box. Okay? Think outside of the box. All right. Mi padre, that's a one. Okay. Now, where your friend lives. Where your friend lives. So you're going to visit a Panamanian friend. So guess what this means? Where your friend lives, you can do this several ways. You can talk about the country or the city, sorry, that they live in Panama. So there might be a city in Panama that you know. You can talk about whether they live in an apartment on a particular street. Okay. So you need to know the word for street. You need to know the different types of words for different dwellings. So they may live in a condo, they live in an apartment, they may live in a house. The house may have 2 floors. So, like, say where your friend lives, right? So that, like I said, that could be answered both ways, or you can add all of that in describing where your friend lives. You could talk about, again, if you're talking about where your friend lives, you could talk about, you can say, oh, he lives, mi amigo vive en una comunidad muy pequeño, all right? Pero hay la estación de policía, una escuela, like, y una iglesia. Do you understand what I'm saying? But again, you're describing where your friend lives. We can't take points off of that. It's describing where your friend lives. I know that your friend lives in a small community. That community has a police station, it has a church, it has a school. All right. You can again talk about the house. Talk about the house, whether it's una casa, un apartamento. You can talk about those kinds of things about where your friend lives. All right. What you want to do in Panama? And again, this is going to speak to activities. You can be very specific about something that Panama has. For example, in Panama, there's the Panama Canal. You may want to visit the Panama Canal. That's a landmark in Panama. All right. You may want to visit the famous Bolivar Plaza in Panama. So you can be very specific, or again, if you know nothing about Panama, talk about old buildings, talk about churches, talk about mountains, talk about animals that you want to see, things like that. Yes, Miss McKenzie.
Would it be right if you said me viaje or yo viaje?
Tell me what you want to say, because again, you have to remember, you have to conjugate the verb correctly. And if you look at the verb viajar, viajar, if you are, sorry, I'm just gonna go and use my text bar.
A España.
Viajar is the verb, right? Yo viajo. Tú viajes. Viajas. Sorry. All right. And then go on. Remember, o, as, a, amos, ais, an. That's the regular ending. So if you're talking about somebody else, it's now going to be él, ella, viaja.
So would it be wrong if I said me viaje?
Not may. Why are you saying may? It's not a reflexive verb. You're saying what? You're saying who are you saying is traveling?
Myself, me.
So you're traveling myself. Okay, go ahead. Say the whole thing that you want to say.
Me viaje a España.
So you're going by yourself to Panama?
No, ma'am. I'm using this in like a next expression.
Say what else you want to say. I would not use it. But go ahead. Let me hear the full sentence about what you want to say.
Okay, yes, ma'am. You answered my question.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Nancy. Do you have any tips on pronunciation?
For what, for example? Because y'all won't be speaking. Y'all don't have a speaking exam. I really wish they would give y'all a speaking exam in BJC, but they don't. You only do writing, listening, and reading. You don't do any speaking.
I just mean in general, because one day I want to be an anesthesiologist and I want to work in somewhere in the Central America, and there I have to speak Spanish. So I want to learn the pronunciation in general.
Okay, so once you know your vowels, you should be okay. That's the first thing. If you don't know your vowels, that's gonna like kick you. I mean, like really kick you. So you need to know, for example, that A is A, E is A in terms of sound, right? So if you, let me write A, E, I, O, U. This is how we say it. We say A, we have long A, then we have short A. We have long E, which is E in English. Then we say E, right? We have long I, and then we say E. We have long O, which is the O sound. Then we say O. U for us is U or A, right? In Spanish, the pronunciation is A for A. It's A for E. It's E for I. It's O, like I'm trying to think. And then it's ooh for you. It's ooh, like ooh. I could tell it's ooh for you, right? And of course, for the alphabet, the letters H is silent. So when you have a word like, and a lot of I've seen you do it even here while I was in this reinforcement class. A lot of people are saying, hey, that's not hey. H is silent, so it's I, right? A-Y, H-A-Y is pronounced I, like the pronoun I. The letter J, right? J is pronounced H. So Hugo and not Jugo is juice. So once you know your alphabet, and that's what I would say to you. If you want to get or be good at pronunciation, go and look at any YouTube video on the Spanish alphabet. And if you can get that, you can look at any word, and that's going to be like the basics for you pronouncing and sounding like a Spanish speaker, even though you may not know a lot of Spanish, right? If you pronounce the words properly or come close enough to it for them to understand what you mean or what you're saying, you should be fine. I hope that helps. Miss Mackenzie, your hand is up. Is that an old hand? Is that an old hand, Miss Mackenzie?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from anybody else before we clear and move on? What time is it? Okay, hold on. We have to do this. A present you have for your friend. What would you take a friend? All right. So again, what's the word for present? That word should come up in your writing. You should know what the word for present or gift is in Spanish. What is the word for present? Anybody knows? Don't Google it, please. Just let me know that you don't know, and then I'll tell you, okay, go Google it. But I don't want you to go look for it and then tell me what it is. I just want you to have an idea that when you come to doing these writing exercises, this is how important vocabulary is going to be. All right? Anybody knows the word for present? No? Regalo. Regalo is the word for present or gift. Okay? And so you will take a gift for your friend. You could take him, and this again, you could take them an article of clothing. You could take them a watch, right? And again, you're writing, so you're saying you could take them a gift from the store market downtown, whatever it is, like however you decide that what you're going to say, or from some kind of market on your island. It could be maybe you want to take them a conch shell. I don't know. But again, how you write and say it, make sure you use words that you know. So if you use, or if you take or decide to give them an article of clothing as a gift, you would mention things like chaqueta, or you would mention things like vestido and falda. And then you could describe it too. You could say it's with the Bahamian colors on it, right? So you don't even have to say or the name of colors. You could say colores de Bahamensa or something like that. Bahamian colors. Again, you're making the writing or writing in such a way that you are trying to impress your markers with the vocabulary that you know. And even though it may be simple, it tells it tells them that you know what you're saying. Okay, so you just need them to know what you're saying. So even if you don't have the specific vocabulary, don't ever leave anything blank. Always try to write something and use the vocabulary that you know as much as possible. All right, let's go. I think that would be one of my last pages. All right, this is where you do this is where the most writing comes in. Notice that this writing is this the prompt now. This is where they want you to write like almost essay style, like paragraphs. Okay, so you and some classmates are visiting Costa Rica. You're writing a letter of approximately 80 words to your Cuban friend, telling him or her about the visit. So you're actually describing a visit that you have, or that you have in Costa Rica. So you're going to be talking about a specific country. So here it is. Describe the country. You have to give a description of the country. And again, this is where now they are tapping into what you know about Spanish-speaking countries. Okay, you should have had a lesson on Spanish-speaking countries. If you need me to do something with that next week, I can plan that for next week. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in, to do something on some Spanish-speaking countries. Give me a thumbs up if that's something you would be interested in. All right, so you can do that. Or again, this is not difficult. I promise you, you will find or can find information on Spanish-speaking countries right on YouTube. Okay, you just need to know, again, do they have mountains? You need to know the word for mountains. You need to know the word for if they have beaches. You need to know, just like how you would describe, if you have to describe here, how would you describe it? What's the weather like in that particular country? Okay, so you just describe the country. All right, you could describe, again, if they have a lot of old buildings or something like that. Again, landmarks, a lot of things like that. You could talk about trees. Okay, again, what's the climate like? What's the weather like? All of that would be a part of the description of the country. Okay, now talk about, again, you give a description of where you live. And please note, you're going to have to either know the word for country, because you don't want to always be using the word. Let's say you're writing about Costa Rica. You don't always want to say Costa Rica as Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Costa Rica. No, interchange sometime. Use the word El País, the country, El País. Or use the word this place, right? This place, this country, Costa Rica, like be able to switch up your words if you can. All right. Talk about where you live. Again, this is the vocabulary for dwelling. Go ahead, Miss Dorset. I see your hand raised.
You can also say también if you want to add something.
También is a good. Those are words in your writing, and they there's a specific name. Words like también, expressions. Words like también. Words like because they are good. They're like transitional words in English. So words like afterwards, words like also, words like of course, words like what's the other word I mean? If you're talking about your country, at times or sometimes you would do something, or you talk about definitely directional words, right? Directional words like turning left and turning right or going straight ahead. So you need to know, you would need to know words like that. Those words would really look really good as you're writing and describing a country or where you are or whatever it is that you're talking about. Talking about directional words and where you are would always be good. Does anybody know what to the right is and to the left is? The word for right and left and straight ahead. Anybody know? Say it again.
A la derecha de and a la izquierda de.
Okay. And what about straight ahead? Y'all can look it up, you know. You can look it up now, because if you look it up, then you are going to remember what it is. Like I don't just want to tell you.
My bad. Enfrente de.
Enfrente de is in front of.
Enfrente de. Enfrente de.
There's also a word that means straight ahead, different from enfrente. I know what you mean, but look for another word. There should be a singular word. You can use in front of. You can. Enfrente de, you can use that.
So, total retro.
Say it again.
Total retro.
I know. I'm not hearing you. Maybe, I don't know. You scared to talk to me, eh?
Todo recto.
Put it in the chat. Let me see. Let me see if that's the word.
Delante de is also the next one.
Todo derecho, delante. Yeah, go ahead. What else? So those are words that I would say that you need to kind of use as you're writing. Okay. What time you have breakfast, when you eat and drink again. So you need to know the word comer, which is to eat, the verb. You need to know the verb conjugations for beber, which is to drink. You need to know breakfast, desayuno. So these are just some words that you should know. Definitely, these are words that we would expect to see in a writing prompt like this. In your writing, we should expect to see words like país, lugar, all right? Viver, casa, hotel, apartamento, things like that. Desayuno, ahora, which is time, or hora, which is time. Beber, like I said, is to drink. Then that means you should be talking about some drinks that you drink. It could be refrescos, it could be limonada, it could be té, it could be café, leche, agua. Again, these words come into play. When you're describing family members, anytime you're talking about description, you know that's where adjectives come in. Alta, baja, flaco, delgado, gordo, okay? Rubio, or again, you're talking about the hair, when you talk about rubio and moreno and those things like that. All right, so you need to be able to describe, again, when you're talking about somebody's eyes, los ojos, then you talk about the color. All right, so talk about the color of the eyes. Talk about their nose or ears, okay? And again, it doesn't have to be true, but if these are the words that you remember, all you need to do is write the words down. You're trying to get points, okay? So you could say somebody has a big nose or big ears or a small nose and small ears. If they're the only words you remember, you're still describing your family members. You can say whether they are nice, simpática, okay? Or whether they're funny, or whether they are shy, or like those are the kinds of things you talk about. Miss Williams?
Sorry, when you coughed, that made me a little sad. What does Rubio mean?
Rubio is when somebody is, you're talking about the color of their hair, like red hair.
Pelo?
Yeah, you're talking about their hair, pelo.
Thank you. Do you remember how to say red hair?
Red hair is,
I think it starts with R.
Yeah, but I was saying, I don't think it's Rubio. I think Rubio is
blonde or something.
Right. Rubio is blonde. It's not red hair. It has to do with pelo de rojo. It might be that. Let me see if there's a single word.
Rojo?
Yeah, rojo is red. So it's definitely, yeah.
I remember from my books when I was in 8th or 7th grade, it says something about
I know. It's that
old one word. I just try to remember.
It's that Spanish from then. It is. Cabeza roja is red hair.
In my thing, when I looked it up,
cabeza is head. But again, guess what? Even if you don't know the word for redhead, if you know the word for hair, if you know the word for red, you could say ella tiene pelo rojo or roja. Rojo because it's pelo. So even if that's not the word redhead, like you know the terminology that they use, everybody would know you're talking about somebody that has red hair. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be the exact word. If you can give the meaning and you know the meaning and you understand what you're saying, like we can comprehend what you're saying, you're still gonna get points. Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Pelirrojo is red hair. Peli, P-E-L-I-R-O-J-O. That's the word. Pelirrojo. P-E-L-I-R-R-O-J-O. Pelirrojo. That's the word for red hair. That's the single word for red hair. So when you're describing someone and you're talking about the type of hair they have, it's pelirrojo. Okay, we already gave you the one for blonde. Blonde is rubio. And of course, if somebody has black hair, it's negro. And if somebody has brown hair, you would say moreno. All right, anything else? Where you went yesterday and what you did there. And again, it's talking about activities. It's talking about activities, and notice what they now want you to do. So not only are you going to be writing in the present tense, you are going to be writing in the past tense, because now you're going to talk about what you did yesterday. So this is where the preterite tense comes in. So you're going to need to know the conjugation of your verbs, not just in the present indicative, preterite tense, present tense, but you're also going to need to know it in the preterite tense, which is the past tense. So you're going to need to know past tense and present tense, which is present indicative and preterite. Okay, so conjugation of those verbs in the different tenses. And what you and your family are going to do next week. So you don't have to know future tense. You can simply use the er plus er a to say that you are going to do something. But always remember the verb er, which means to go, is followed by a. So voy a nadar, I'm going to swim. Voy a jugar, I'm going to play. Voy a viajar, I'm going to travel. So you don't have to know the future tense. You just need to know I am going to. And that's good enough. Okay? Everybody understands that?
Yes,
Mr. Powell Ram, you had a question? You were going to say something? No? All right. Again. Where you live, with whom. So kind of some of the same questions are coming up, just different ways. But all of these are examples that I pulled from past papers, past examinations. This one was just in 2020. All right. Again, where you live, who do you live with? You're going to give a description of your home, and you're going to mention two things. So again, this now could come into talk about parts of the house, meaning you could talk about the rooms in your house, not just where you live in terms of whether it's a house, an apartment, a condo, a villa, whatever. You're not just talking about that. You're talking about your home. So your home may have a garden. And again, it doesn't have to be the truth. You are just using your words. Okay? You could talk about the roof, which is techo. You could talk about whether it has a garden. You can talk about how many rooms are in the house. You could talk about the bathrooms, how many bathrooms are in the house. And again, they only want you to mention at least two things. You can mention more, but you definitely have to have two things. Yes, Miss Williams?
Good day, Miss Smith. I hope I'm not disturbing you, but I have a
why
question
would you
for
be disturbing me? You can talk. Please talk. I'm doing all the talking. My voice is even going raspy. You can talk and ask questions. This is the time to do it. I'm here to help you. So whatever you have a question with, trust me, you're not bothering me. Go ahead. What are you saying?
I have a question for Kaden Smith. What's the difference between Potter and Paul?
Oh, now that is that's a whole lesson in itself. Potter and Paul. So I can do that for the next lesson. Let me save that let me write that down. Potter and Paul, I'm looking for that. So we'll discuss Potter and Paul. At some point, I know it's also going to be, but Esther and Sarah, I think that may be different in terms of, that may be BJCE, I mean, but Pa and Pora, and I need to mention that. So Pa and Pora, and Pa and Para, I say in Pora. Paul and Para, that's what you want. And we are looking at Spanish countries. So I'll prepare those for next week. All right, because we don't have time. So Paul and Para, I'll do that for next week, as well as the Spanish countries. Anything else you want me to specifically to prepare for next week? Anyone with anything that you want clarification on?
You could do emotions.
Okay.
And personalities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Characteristics, yeah.
Okay. All right. So
more formation of like paragraphs.
Say it again. What do you mean? What do you mean? You said more formation of paragraphs. That's what you mean? That's what you said?
Like the writing prompts that we're doing. Yes, ma'am. The writing prompts that we're doing right now.
Oh, okay. So more writing prompts. That's what you mean?
Yes,
if I can
yes,
find,
ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
if I can find some. Okay, yeah. So, notice this one right here. So this definitely means you all need to know chores. You need to know vocabulary for household chores, like ironing and mopping, cleaning the room, cleaning the kitchen, washing dishes, whatever. All right, sweeping, vacuuming, washing the clothes. You need to know chores. So think about that as well. Somebody's hand is up. Go ahead, Miss Maki.
So we also go over transportation.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am, we can do that. So transportation, emotions and personalities, all of these would come under characteristics. And definitely we want to do the countries because it seems as if the trend has been them asking you about a particular destination that you would have traveled to a country and learned something about that country to be able to talk about something about that country. All right, so we will definitely look at some countries and some of the main landmarks and stuff that are there. Even if you yeah, even if we just look at some slides and pictures of stuff from those countries. Okay. Anything else before we leave, because it is almost 7 o'clock. Go ahead, Kaden.
Next class, can we go over time and comparison?
Time and comparison.
That's
okay. Some of these may have to be pushed to 2 classes, but I understand what you're looking for, so that's fine. Time and comparison. And when you say comparison, you're talking about using mejor, like something is better, or that kind of expression, or you just talking about, tell me what do you mean in terms of comparison?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Okay, it is 6:55. Before you go, I'm just gonna drop something in the chat for you to do. Not hard. It's just a very quick. The same. Somebody was asking about characteristics. Here are the characteristics. Something quick that I want you to do. I'm gonna drop it in the chat and you can join. It's a little game, and it's gonna it's gonna be not gonna be long. 3 minutes I'm gonna put on it. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay. Link it in the chat.